someone filed an anonymous report against her at work. She lost the promotion she had spent 2 years earning. Her reputation was questioned. Her job almost gone. She investigated quietly, and every single clue led back to her closest friend. But the reason behind it was something nobody in that room was prepared for. Rania had worked at the same architecture firm for 6 years. She was methodical, respected, the kind of colleague who stayed late not to be noticed, but because she genuinely cared about the work. A senior associate role had opened up, the promotion she had been quietly building toward for 2 years. Her manager told her privately she was the front runner. Then, 3 weeks before the decision was announced, an anonymous report landed with HR. The allegation? That Rania had taken credit for a junior colleague's work on a major project. It wasn't true, but the damage was immediate. The promotion was paused pending review. Rania sat through 2 HR meetings in 1 week. The junior colleague, confused and upset, confirmed she had never made the complaint herself. But anonymous reports don't need a named source to create damage. By the time the review concluded with no finding against her, the promotion had quietly been given to someone else. Rania went home that Friday and sat in her kitchen for a long time. Someone in her circle had done this. She was going to find out who. Rania started with what she knew. The report had included specific details about the project, details that only someone close to her would have known. She had discussed the project candidly with 3 people outside work: a former colleague, her sister, and her best friend of 7 years, Dina, who worked in a completely different industry, but had always taken a genuine interest in Rania's career. Rania ruled out her sister within a day. The former colleague had no motive. That left Dina. Over the following 2 weeks, Rania went back through every conversation, every message, every dinner where she had talked about the project. The details in that report matched things she had told Dina, specifically, word for word in places. Rania didn't call. She didn't text. She drove to Dina's apartment on a Tuesday evening and knocked on the door. When Dina opened it and saw Rania's face, something shifted in her expression. Not guilt, exactly. Something closer to dread. The look of someone who has been waiting for a conversation they hoped would never come. Rania stepped inside. She put her phone on the table, a screenshot of the report pulled up on the screen. She said, "I need you to tell me the truth." Dina sat down. She didn't deny it. She said, "I need you to let me explain." Before I tell you what Dina said, and why it changes everything about this story, if you're new here, this is where stories like this live. Loyalty, betrayal, and the moments that test both. Hit subscribe so you never miss one. Now, back to Dina's explanation. 6 months earlier, Dina had attended an industry event through a mutual contact. The senior associate who was overseeing the promotion, the manager Rania would have reported directly to, had been pointed out to her across the room. And someone at that event, someone who knew him well, had told Dina something quietly and carefully. That this manager had a pattern. 2 women in the past 3 years had left the firm within months of being promoted under him. Both had filed internal complaints that went nowhere. Both had signed NDAs on the way out. Dina had spent weeks trying to decide what to do with that information. She was afraid that if she told Rania directly, Rania would dismiss it, push through anyway and end up in a situation she couldn't get out of. So she made a decision she knew was wrong in method, but believed was right in intent. She filed the report to create a delay, to buy time, to try to protect her friend from something she couldn't prove but believed completely. Rania didn't speak for a long time. She looked at Dina, this woman she had known for 7 years, who had been at her mother's funeral, who knew every difficult chapter of her life. And she felt two things at exactly the same time, with equal force. A fury so complete it had no words, and a grief so deep it had no bottom. Because Dina had been right about the manager. Rania had heard whispers herself and chosen not to listen. And Dina had burned the friendship, trying to protect her from something real. Neither of them knew what to do with that. Rania left that night without another word. She didn't call for 3 weeks. In that time, she looked into the manager herself. Quietly, carefully. Everything Dina had described checked out. The women who had left, the complaints that had been buried, the NDAs. She went to a different senior partner at the firm with what she found. Not about herself, but about him. An independent review was opened. 3 months later, the manager resigned. Rania was offered the senior associate role, under a different team. She took it. Rania called Dina on the day she accepted the new role. They talked for 2 hours. They are still friends. But Rania told me something that has stayed with me since. I forgave her, but I had to grieve the version of the friendship where I thought she would always come to me directly. That version is gone. What we have now is something different. Maybe something more honest, but different. Dina made a terrible choice in the name of love. The question this story leaves me with, and the one I want to leave you with, is this. If your closest friend did this to protect you, and they were right about the danger, would you forgive them? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. The next story drops in 3 days. For 4 years, her manager told her she was exceptional, signed her performance reviews, wrote her commendations, nominated her for 2 company awards. She trusted him completely. Then she applied for a senior role at another company, a role she was built for. She didn't get it. She found out why 6 weeks later, completely by accident. Her manager had given her a reference. He just hadn't given her the same one he gave her to her face. What she did with 4 years of his own words, in writing, with his signature. You are going to want to see this. If you're new here, hit subscribe. New stories every Wednesday and Friday. The drama you can't look away from.